morning, everybody. Hey, this is awesome. I'm so excited to be here. I'm a dad of 6 kids, and so I come at this from a little bit different perspective. I'm so happy that you're here. Now, I'm going to help you figure this whole thing out. I want you to put your Lecrae bifocals back on. Would you do that for me? Put your Lecrae glasses on. And I want you to think of this sacred-secular split, this good-bad split. And I want to teach you something that my buddy James taught me. Listen carefully. This is very, very important. One of the most overlooked and deadly evils in the modern world today is Chinese food. Many people don't believe that, but any serious and committed Christian with just a moment of reflection will understand very quickly, with what I'm about to tell you, that Chinese food in all its forms must be entirely rejected. Many people are not aware of the very serious nature of the Chinese food question, and they participate in this very dangerous activity unknowingly. Number one, Chinese food is an expression of the Eastern philosophy of monism, oneism, the all-is-one philosophy of the East and its mysticism. And this food is not only coming from the East, the very heart of the most sophisticated forms of paganism, but by its very nature and composition, it reflects the Eastern monistic philosophy that is so wicked and perverted. Biblical Christianity, on the other hand, declares that God is a Trinity, that is one God in 3 separate and distinct persons. Yes? One God with Father, Son, Holy Spirit, distinct and separate, co-equal, co-existent in the one triune Godhead. That is why, if you do your research, you'll find that chefs in the West are taught when they prepare and present their dishes to put the food on one plate, but in the one plate you have the separate food groups remaining distinct from one another. Think about it. Chinese food, in contrast, seeks to undo all of this. And they take the vegetables, the salad, the meat, and the sweets, and mix them all together in an attempt to destroy diversity and set up a food monad, a food oneness. This is obviously evil and perverted. It corrupts the very nature of our God. Plus, combining the sweet and sour flavors together are done in accordance with the Eastern philosophy of yin and yang. Yin and yang, sweet and sour. What could be more pagan than that? But there's more. Because of the perverted nature of Chinese food, it is naturally unpalatable for the human tongue. It is naturally repulsive to the human taste buds, and therefore vast quantities of MSG, monosodium glutamate, is added to make it taste better. And we know now that MSG, as it's popularly called, is also a poison. It causes hyperactivity in children and cancer in adults. So not only is Chinese food pagan, it's also poisonous. It's also idolatrous. Do your research on Wikipedia and you'll find that it was likely Nimrod during the time of the Tower of Babel who developed the concept of Chinese food to feed to the people in an attempt to subvert the true faith. And they believed that as they ate the food, because of the MSG, they would become addicted to it. And they believed, over time, as they ate the sweet and sour pork, they would become committed to the philosophy of yin and yang. It's intrinsic to the very food itself. And if you don't believe this, well, let me put it bluntly, your Chinese food addiction is showing. You're clearly just stubbornly refusing to put aside your pagan traditions, or you simply haven't done your homework and you don't know your history. Well, how did the stuff get to the West? All the way from China, all the way over here, and to California. Well, It was the Bishop of Rome who introduced this Chinese food into the Christian world, none other than the Pope. Do we ever read about Chinese food in the New Testament? Of course not. Do we read about it in the Baptist Confession of Faith? Of course not. So there you have it. This can only mean that this is nothing other than a plot of Rome to destroy God's true faith, and the Baptist Confession is totally opposed to all Chinese food. And have you ever noticed how fanatical people are about Chinese food? I mean, not only do the people eat the stuff, they'll pay money for it. Not only that, they'll actually set up and support whole restaurants that are given over wholly to the production of this evil, poisonous, idolatrous, pagan, and subversive food. And if you try to get people to quit eating Chinese food, try that. Try to get someone to quit eating the Chinese food, and they'll look at you like you're the crazy one. I'm sorry, but you cannot slap a Jesus sticker on your chicken chow mein and say it's all right for a Christian to eat it. Like Luther before me, here I stand. And if others do not like it, then it must be truth over friendship. Pretty good, huh? No, I mean the arguments are pretty good, aren't they? I mean, that could be pretty convincing, especially with an English accent. Those guys can influence a lot of people. But it's not right. It's all wrong. But you could replace Christmas for the word Chinese food in every one of those arguments, and that's exactly what you and I have been given by a bunch of other people, and we're swallowing it hook, line, and sinker. We're buying it. We're buying it and saying that all these things are bad. So I ask you, Chinese food, let's go back to the Lecrae test. Good or bad? Good. Okay, if you got that one wrong, you need to go back and watch the video. Talk to your worldview professor. Here's the next one. Christmas trees, good or bad? Guys, don't worry about what the pagans do with trees. They do lots of stuff that you don't even want to know about. They've always stolen and perverted things like trees and rocks and people and music and noodles and science and art and sex, and try to convince us that those things belong to them, that they've got a corner on those things. My Bible says that the earth is the Lord's and everything it contains. Everything God made is good. Everything God made is sacred, and it all belongs to Him.